Hi, teachers and staff. In this training, we're going to be talking about the three different methods that we can use in order to use our smartboard efficiently. And what I mean by that is how exactly are we connecting? What wires are we using? How are we presenting the information on our screen? And there's three main methods of doing that. The first one is what you would think of in previous years of using smartboard, which would be using our HDMI cord and our USB cord. You should have received brand new cords in order to use them with your board if you choose to this school year. So make sure that you find those. They should have been given to you in a package along with your Smart ID badge and some other stuff, right? So with those two cords, you would plug them into your wall outlets because the cords run up to your ceiling and then are wall rung through wherever they are at in your room. Usually they're by the teacher's desk or something of that nature. You would plug them directly into the wall, into the HDMI and USB outlets, and then from there, you're going to plug the other two ends into your computer. After that, you should have the ability to present whatever it is on your laptop screen right to your smartboard. And how I did that was, all that I did was I pressed on the input button, which could be found on the smartboard off to the side, or it can also be used on your remote as well. So as soon as I press input, it's going to pull up HDMI 1. I don't have to wait for this preview, but just so you can see, it will say that it's touch enabled. That means that I'm able to write or move things around using my finger or pens. That would be because the USB cord is connected as well. So HDMI gives me my picture and my audio. USB cord gives me my touch sensitivity. As soon as I press it, it should load me in, and then I should be good to go. Now, if for whatever reason, as soon as you plug in, you don't see these two icons pull up on your screen right away, my mouse and my finger, that means that Smart Ink isn't currently running on your screen, and all that you'll have to do is double click on the Smart Ink icon on your desktop. That was pushed out to all elementary staff, just in the event that Smart Ink, for whatever reason, doesn't load right away when you first plug in. Then you'll be good to go, and you should be able to immediately start writing right on your desktop. That's a great telltale sign if you can't, that something isn't quite right with Smart Ink. And notice that I can also touch items directly on my desktop. I could go into a slideshow, for example, and still write directly on the top of the screen and even move forward and backward with the swipe of a finger left and right. If I want to clear out my ink, I can press my ink option at the top and press clear ink, or I could erase, as I always have with my fist. So using this method can be great. We are chained to the front of the room or wherever you are at with those two cords because odds are they're only 5 to 10 feet in length. So this would be a method for our friends that maybe this is your comfort zone, or if you are okay with your laptop being at the front of the room for a majority of the time or for at least part of your lessons, this could be a great avenue to go, at least while you're getting your feet wet with other methods. The other nice part about this is that even though my laptop is connected, I can just press my home button and I still have access to all the other smartboard items that are available to me. So if I want to go, for example, into my internet browser on the smartboard itself, it's a quick switch. So I just went to my home screen and went there. And here I am with all the tabs that I had already saved. And if I want to go back to my laptop, I press input and go back to that input, and there's my laptop screen again. So I can still easily hop back and forth between the smartboard interface and the laptop input if I choose to. Now, one other piece that I wanted to highlight with using my direct connection HDMI and USB is that I can also extend my displays. I can do that a lot of different ways. But if I right click on my desktop and go to display settings, right now you can see that I am set to duplicate my display. What that means is whatever is being presented on my laptop is also exactly what is being presented on my smartboard display. But I can change that. I could change it right here if I drop down this arrow and go to extend these displays. Now you can see on my smartboard screen, it is different from that of my laptop screen. So I could actually, for example, go into this slideshow, and it's currently on my laptop, but not on my smartboard display. So if I wanted to bring it there, I would have to drag it over to my smartboard display to where I can now present that slideshow, but off on the other side of my screen. For example, I could have this image pulled up, just as an example, right? I could have this pulled up and be working on this or checking my email or what have you on my other screen while my presentation is still running. And what else is nice is I can still manipulate and write on this screen, even though it's being extended. So if I wanted to progress slides or something of that nature, I can still do that with the touchscreen, even though my laptop screens are being extended here. So that's one perk. Also, that direct connection. I can be running whatever's from my laptop, but also have the ability to have an extra screen. Lastly, one other perk with having direct connection is I have an easy way of connecting my document camera to be able to present whatever it is that is on there to show to my students. I know lots of us use different document cameras for different methods or different reasons throughout the course of the school day. So if your laptop is already connected, that does make life easy. And you can also use the Visualizer app already built into our laptops and turn off that constant autofocus of our document cameras by going into the settings, clicking on focus, and selecting manual focus. Trust me, you will thank me later. If you're directly connected to your laptop already, use that program so that way you don't have to constantly deal with the autofocus of our document cameras. So that is option one. Let's talk about option two. Now with option two, we're going to essentially strip everything that we just talked about. Our laptop we're imagining that we forgot it for the day or that it's with the sub or something like that. The smartboard itself is its own large tablet. So anything that you could do on your laptop, you could also most likely do on your smartboard display directly from the display. For example, it has its own internet browser, or it has its own whiteboard. It has its own built-in camera app, so you could be running your document camera through there. All those things could be running from the board itself, and your laptop could be at your small group table taking formative assessment data with your students, right? So it allows you to have two different devices running rather than just your laptop projecting whatever is happening. So that's option one is great, but option two could be even better depending on what it is that you're doing in your classroom. So just as an example, if I go into the internet browser built into this board, I've signed into my Google Drive and I can access that same exact slideshow that I was just in and still present it the same exact way and still write on it. All of those things can still happen directly from my smartboard itself rather than doing it from my laptop. So just as a quick example, if I was wanting to write directly on top of or highlight something, I could still do that using these pens, even though no laptop is currently connected. One quick change or tweak to that is, though, if I'm using my laptop and projecting, when I write, I can still move forward and backward or change things. As soon as I start writing in my smartboard display directly from there, it creates a freeze frame and I can't move any further until the ink is gone. So that is one change. Whereas if I'm using my smartboard directly, I can still move forward and backward, just as an example, maybe progressing with my slides, swiping my finger back and forth, just as I could with my laptop, and I can still write. It's just a tiny bit different to where I could erase the ink with my X and press discard, or I can erase with my fist still, but I have to get rid of that ink before I can move forward, regardless of the application that I'm in. This also allows me to use my built-in whiteboard app. If I go in here, I have tons of different Canvas space, and we'll talk in other trainings if you're interested in using Lumio, which is where you can upload different resources and they'll automatically appear in whiteboard files on your board directly to where, again, you don't have to have your laptop. You're no longer chained or tied down to those types of things. You're just ready to go with your whiteboard. Now, the whiteboard application itself will be a whole separate training, so if you're interested in learning more of the ins and outs of the whiteboard or just need a refresher, take a look at that 1-point training as well to work you up to 10 points if you're interested. But just as a few quick little pieces, I can add in a background in here. There's all sorts of different graphic organizers that I could use and add in those, and this is all in the moment that I could just build in. There's different items that are manipulatives, so I could have, for example, calendar time at the beginning of the month, something like that. Or maybe it's something that I just go back to each day because guess what? As I create files in Lumio inside of this built-in browser, as long as I'm signed in to my profile, it saves all of those files. So as soon as I go back into my home screen, that whiteboard file that I just made is given a date and time. That's the title of the file. And the next time that I go back into that file, it's going to bring me back to the same exact point that I was in. It auto saves everything. It even brings me back to the same slide that I was on. So if I'm in, for example, slide 2, and I close out and I come back the next day, it will bring me back to slide 2, wherever it was, wherever I was at in those slides, excuse me. So a few other things to just highlight. I did mention my document camera currently isn't plugged in, but if I was to plug the document camera either into one of the front USB ports or the back USB port, it's going to automatically recognize my document camera, and I'm going to have that available to me as well. So I could use that directly from the board too. And I can also access anything inside of the internet world, so such as YouTube videos or anything like that. Playing background music can also be done here. But there is a quick little, again, 1-point training on background music. If you're interested in that, check that out as well. There's a few different avenues of having background music play. If you're doing it from YouTube, you're probably finding that it's not working just right. So there's ways to work around with that. So that's maybe something for another time. But if I was to go into my browser, the slides that I have up and running right now will stay. The tabs that I have open will stay until I close out of them, as long as I'm signed into my profile. So if I was to, for example, add 2 more tabs, and then I'm just going to go into my apps. If you aren't familiar, the apps button is right below your profile. Similar to an iPhone or Android, if I swipe up on an app, it will actually close out of it. So I'm going to close out of my camera as well. But just so you can see, the next time I go into the internet browser, it's going to pull up all the tabs that I had open already. So regardless of what time of the day you come in or turn on your board, even if you shut it all the way down with the power switch on the weekend and come back, all your tabs are still going to be there, which is another perk of using this board as option 2, which is just the tablet version, right? So now I not only can still do everything that I was doing with option 1, but that laptop freedom now can be anywhere. It's no longer chained to the smartboard. So again, really just depends on how you want to do things in your classroom. I would encourage you to try at least both options 1 and 2. Option 3 is another great option, and we'll take a look at that in just a second. But I would highly encourage you to at least try out option 1 and 2 if you haven't already, to see what's going to give you the best bang for your buck. I have a feeling though, if you try out option 2, you will never want to go back to option 1, at least not for most things. Now, option 3 is actually its own separate little mini training that's worth a point in this choice board training for smartboards if you're interested. I did just really quickly want to go over kind of what it is and how it works. Option 3 is wirelessly connecting your laptop display to the smartboard, to where you'll be able to present whatever it is on your laptop directly to the board without any cords attached. So that happens all through Screen Share. Another name for it is Smart Mirror. All you'll have to do is connect your laptop using the 6-digit code in Smart Mirror, a program that's already on your laptop displays, and you'll be able to present what's happening. If you're interested in learning more about Smart Mirror, the idea that I could be presenting Google Slides in the back of my classroom, writing directly on my laptop, and the ink shows up right on the board, just for an example. Or presenting a YouTube video, but again, my laptop isn't chained down to the board. And the other nice part of it is it's just a built-in program within my smartboard. So I could be wirelessly connecting my laptop, and all of a sudden I want to go into one of my whiteboard files. I can still do that because, again, the smartboard, that device is also still running all the time. Whether I'm connected to my laptop and I go into my input, or I hop over into Screen Share, all those things can be done simultaneously, and you can just hop back and forth between whatever works best for you in that moment in your lesson. So if you're interested in knowing more about Smart Mirror and the ins and outs of it and what can be done with it, I'd encourage you to take that little 1-point training as well, so that way you can get a better idea of what option 3 looks like in your classroom. So now you have all 3 options. We've got connecting old school with our HDMI and USB cords, as we did in previous years with the old smartboard model. We have option 2, which is basically using our giant tablet right here, the built-in browser, the built-in whiteboard. All of those different features are already readily available, being able to connect my document camera directly to the board. And then option 3 would be using Smart Mirror, which is wirelessly connecting or mirroring my laptop display to my smartboard without any cords attached. Now you have 3 different avenues of taking a look and presenting information on your smartboard. It just depends on what works best for you.